Apple VR is a huge mistake because it is too expensive, requires a powerful iPhone to run, and has limited content and compatibility. Let me explain why. First of all, the price. Apple VR is rumored to cost a whopping $3,000, which is way more than any other consumer VR headset on the market. For comparison, the Meta Quest 2 costs $299 and the PSVR 2 costs $499. Even the Meta Quest Pro, which is aimed at professionals and enthusiasts, costs only $999. Why is Apple VR so expensive? Well, it's because it has two processors, one of which is the M2 chip that powers some of Apple's best MacBooks and Macs, a micro OLED display from Sony, and 12 camera modules. That's a lot of high-end components, but do they really justify such a high price tag? I don't think so. Secondly, the requirements. Apple VR is not a standalone device like the Meta Quest 2 or the PSVR 2. It needs to be connected to an iPhone to work. But not just any iPhone. It needs a powerful iPhone that can handle VR graphics and performance. According to iMore, the minimum requirements for VR on Mac are an Intel Core i5-4590 or AMD FX 8350 processor, NVIDIA GTX 970 or AMD Radeon R9 290 graphics card, and 4 GB of RAM. That means you need at least an iPhone 12 Pro or higher to run Apple VR smoothly. And if you don't have one, you'll have to buy one separately, adding to the already high cost of Apple VR. Thirdly, the content and compatibility. Apple VR is supposed to be a mixed reality headset that can do both VR and AR. But what kind of content will it offer? And how compatible will it be with other platforms and devices? We don't know for sure yet, but we can make some educated guesses based on Apple's history and strategy. Apple is known for creating its own ecosystem of hardware and software that work seamlessly together, but often excludes or limits compatibility with other platforms and devices. For example, you can't use iMessage or FaceTime on Android or Windows devices. You can't use AirPods Pro's spatial audio feature on non-Apple devices. You can't play Apple Arcade games on non-Apple devices. And so on. So it's likely that Apple VR will have its own exclusive content and features that will only work on Apple devices, and will have limited or no compatibility with other VR or AR platforms and devices. That means you'll miss out on a lot of great content and experiences that are available on other VR or AR headsets. So there you have it. 3 reasons why Apple VR is a huge mistake. It's too expensive, it requires a powerful iPhone to run, and it has limited content and compatibility. If you're looking for a VR headset that offers great value, performance, content, and compatibility, you're better off with something else. Apple VR is not all doom and gloom. There are some pros that make it a potentially attractive device for some users. Let's take a look at 4 of them. First, Apple VR is easy to set up. Unlike some other VR headsets that require external sensors, cables, or a powerful PC, Apple VR is a standalone device that works with your iPhone. You just need to pair it with your phone and download the apps you want to use. That's it. You can enjoy VR anywhere you go. Second, Apple VR has a sleek design. Apple is known for its minimalist and elegant aesthetics, and Apple VR is no exception. The headset is made of lightweight and durable materials, and it has a curved shape that fits comfortably on your head. The front of the headset has a glossy black finish that reflects your surroundings, creating a futuristic look. Third, Apple VR supports hand tracking and spatial audio. These are 2 features that enhance the immersion and realism of VR experiences. Hand tracking allows you to use your hands as controllers, without needing any extra accessories. You can interact with virtual objects and environments naturally and intuitively. Spatial audio creates a 3D sound field that matches the direction and distance of the sources in VR. You can hear sounds coming from above, below, behind, or in front of you, depending on where you look and move. Fourth, Apple VR has access to a large and diverse library of apps and games. Since Apple VR works with your iPhone, you can use any app or game that supports VR on iOS. This includes popular titles like Minecraft, Beat Saber, YouTube VR, Netflix VR, and more. You can also explore new and exclusive content from Apple Arcade, Apple TV Plus, and other Apple services. There is something for everyone in Apple VR. Apple VR may seem like a revolutionary device, but it also has some drawbacks that you need to consider before buying one. Here are 4 cons of Apple VR that you should know. First, Apple VR is heavy. It weighs about 500 grams, which is more than twice as much as the Oculus Quest 2. This means that you will feel the weight of the device on your head and face, and it may cause discomfort or fatigue after prolonged use. You may also need to adjust the straps and padding to find a comfortable fit. Second, Apple VR has a short battery life. According to some reports, the device can only last for about 3 hours of continuous use before it needs to be recharged. This is not enough for immersive gaming or media consumption, and it may limit your VR experience. You will also need to carry a charger or a power bank with you if you want to use the device for longer periods. Third, Apple VR can cause motion sickness and eye strain. Some people may experience nausea, dizziness, or headache when using VR devices, especially if they are not used to them. This is because the VR environment does not match the physical movement of the user, and it can create a mismatch between what the eyes see and what the body feels. Apple VR may also strain your eyes if you use it for too long or if you do not adjust the settings properly. Fourth, Apple VR is expensive. The device is expected to cost around $3,000, which is much higher than other VR devices on the market. This is because Apple VR has advanced features such as eye tracking, facial recognition, and hand gestures, but these features may not be essential for most users. You may also need to buy additional accessories or subscriptions to enjoy the full potential of Apple VR. These are some of the cons of Apple VR that you should be aware of before you decide to buy one. Apple VR may be a revolutionary device, but it also has some limitations that may affect your satisfaction and enjoyment. You should weigh the pros and cons carefully and consider your needs and preferences before you make your purchase.